Hello everyone. In the last lecture, we talked about SaaS, service delivery model. We talked about the disadvantages of using SaaS as a delivery model for your computing service. In this lecture, we are going to talk about the challenges which are faced by potential vendors when they plan to integrate SaaS into their delivery model. See, every company out there has a business delivery model. Everyone has that. People who are in management, they particularly focus on sales, advertisement, and people who are in the engineering section where they have to develop the software, people who are dealing with the hardware, people like us who will be developers in future, they have to take care of a lot of challenges. As a normal person, I might say that, so there are so many advantages to cloud. You can easily access a service and do this, do that. But when we talk about individual companies, they face a lot of challenges when they take up this goal of adopting cloud, because adopting cloud, and in particular adopting SaaS delivery model, software as a service, there will be associated challenges because everything is changed. The rules of the game in a manner are totally changed. When you were traditionally operating, you had a data server room, you had a room for storage, you maybe had a data warehouse, you had all of the hardware at your hand. You could easily change the networking structure. You could easily see which system is working, which system is not working. You can use any algorithm you want. You can use whatever scheduling services you want. How your data is handled, who is in control of that. Maybe in a company you might be having 5 different buildings depending upon the access level. Like in normal companies, there are separate rooms for people working on separate software applications. So if a team of 9 people is working in a room, then another room will be allocated for another service, right? Such type of methodologies, such type of connections, such type of workflow, how are you going to establish it when you move to cloud, right? Because then what you have is, you have employees and you have a screen, and employees can interact with the screen. So the back end infrastructure, back end software, back end connection, it must be really good. And that is where the work of a cloud architect lies. That is where the work of a cloud developer lies. How are you going to design the platforms to deliver maximum service, maximum utility based service with minimum constraints? How are you going to make it smooth for companies who want to migrate to cloud, right? Maybe company A, company B, and company C, they have been in the software development market for the last 3 years, let's suppose, and they're very good, they're successful. And now, considering the hype around cloud computing, what they are planning is, they are planning to migrate to cloud-based services. So how will they decide? If I ask you that you are the owner of a company, let's say company A, if I put it on your shoulders, how are you going to make the call? Which applications will go to cloud? Which end will go to cloud? How a particular application is going to work? And see, whenever we're talking about application, at a very basic level, we're talking about the abstraction. We're talking about what is the configuration of that application, what is the version of that application. Can you reuse the programming code which is there? Reusability of modules, as we call it. Does it exist or not? What particular architecture will you be following? Will it be coded in a particular programming language, or it can be done differently? There are many questions. Same goes for availability also. How are you going to manage defaults? How are you going to pool your resources? How are you going to manage your own hardware resources? These are the challenges with respect to reliability, uptime, downtime. What will be the cost? Maybe traditionally, if I own the hardware and the software and then I do my work, maybe that is not costly to me. But for some companies, it is going to be costly. So that cost benefit analysis has to be done. You need to see how you're going to manage the data. कि कौन सा data cloud में कहाँ store हो रहा है, right? What are the data management policies? What is the model for data exchange? Which database do you need? How you're indexing your database? What is the mechanism for porting your stuff? Maybe you went to GCP and you hired infrastructure by GCE and you started to develop your applications, but after 3 months you realize that it is just not working for you. Your application keeps on breaking, the users keep on complaining about the application. So you realize that GCP is not a suitable solution, and now supposedly you have sold all of your infrastructure and you have to choose cloud service provider only. So maybe you will jump to AWS, maybe you will jump to Azure, but then again the questions remain. How are you going to manage your data? What will be the maintenance module? How are you going to handle the staff? How are you going to handle the privileges of the staff? So there are like a lot of challenges. My point is, whenever you're migrating from a particular service model to a different service model, you are going to have a lot of challenges in the transition, and this is where a lot of work is being done also to make the transition really smooth. But overall, we can categorize these challenges into five major points. And again, if you get this question in end semester exams, what are the challenges faced in SaaS integration, I want you to write as much as you can, as many challenges as you can imagine. Maybe think about a case study, maybe throw an example. If company A wants to migrate to cloud, and you make a diagram out of it and then you explain the points. So just use your brain, don't just copy the content which is in the PPT. So let's start with the first key challenge: hybrid IT infrastructure and its challenges. Reading from the PPT, the challenge here is that the IT department has to ensure that they have taken the necessary care to integrate SaaS tools with your existing IT tools. Supposedly you went to Google Cloud for migrating, and Google says that you have to use Gmail, our own mailing service, to operate. Let's suppose that it is mandatory. And on the other side, as a company, you have your own emailing system, you have your own management system within your institution, within your company, or sab kuch, everything you are handling from that particular mailing service. और आपको यूज़ नहीं करना है Gmail, you don't want to use Gmail, but take यहाँ आता है कि every Gmail account will be associated with an individual employee, और उस Gmail account से GCP बोलता है कि as a cloud service provider I am going to provide access control and the integration की जितनी भी privileges हैं, accesses हैं resource के लिए, वो मैं Gmail के through ही provide करूँगा as a cloud service provider. Let's suppose that is the part of the story for GCP. बट एज अ कंपनी आपको आदत है, आपके एम्प्लॉयज़ को आदत है अपना खुद का सिस्टम यूज़ करने की, योर ओन मेलिंग सर्विस. अब दो पॉसिबिलिटीज़ हैं, या तो यू टॉक टू गूगल क्लाउड एंड यू से दैट यू प्रोवाइड अस विद अ सर्विस जो स्मूथ ट्रांजिशन में हेल्प करे, मे बी सम कॉमन प्लेस जहाँ हमारा सिस्टम भी यूज़ हो, आपका सिस्टम भी यूज़ हो. यू गेट इट, माइग्रेशन ऑफ आवर ओन टूल्स एंड द टूल्स विच आर प्रेजेंट विद द क्लाउड सर्विस प्रोवाइडर. या फिर आप ये बोलोगे दैट यू गिव अस अ ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम एंड वी हैव टू ट्रेन ऑल ऑफ आवर एम्प्लॉयज़ टू यूज़ जीमेल. पहले वो कुछ और यूज़ कर रहे थे एंड नाउ दे हैव टू यूज़ अगैन. सो माई पॉइंट इज़ देर आर चैलेंजेस इन्वॉल्व्ड वाइल यू ट्राई टू इंटीग्रेट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर फ्रॉम आउटसाइड. बहुत रेयरली ऐसा होता दैट अ कंपनी गोज़ ऑल आउट ऑन पब्लिक क्लाउड, ऐसा नहीं होता. मोस्टली वट दे आर गोइंग टू डू इज़ दे आर गोइंग टू सेव अ पार्ट ऑफ देयर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर ऑन प्रेमाइसेस, और जो उनका नॉन क्रिटिकल वर्कलोड है विच इज़ नॉट इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर देम, दैट वर्कलोड विल बी शिफ्टेड टू क्लाउड, कि इसको वहाँ एग्जीक्यूट करते हैं. एंड इफ़ योर पब्लिक क्लाउड वर्कलोड इज़ डूइंग वेल, द परफॉर्मेंस इज़ गुड, देन यू कैन थिंक अबाउट माइग्रेटिंग योर प्राइवेट infrastructure over to the cloud also. That is also the second step. The first step is always to set up a hybrid type of integration where you have some infrastructure at your premises and you're using cloud based infrastructure as well. But again, when you have to migrate, चाहे आपको एक service migrate करनी है or maybe you want to migrate 5 different applications totally onto the cloud, it is going to be challenging, right? किसी भी आप क्लाउड प्रोवाइडर पे जा रहे हो, देयर विल बी अ लॉट ऑफ टेक्निकलिटीज इन्वॉल्व. आपको उस पर्टिकुलर प्लेटफॉर्म के लिए एक आर्किटेक्ट चाहिए, एंड दैट इज़ वाई आई कीप ऑन आस्किंग यू टू गो through your AWS accounts to explore the services which are out there. क्लाउड आर्किटेक्ट का जॉब, क्लाउड डेवलपर का जॉब और कुछ नहीं होता है. दे हैव टू लर्न कि कौन से सर्विस क्या करती है. दे हैव टू बिकम दैट मच केपेबल दैट दे अंडरस्टैंड द डायनामिक्स. उसके पीछे जो कम्प्लेक्स काम है दैट इज़ इन द हैंड्स ऑफ डेवलपर. वो कॉन्स्टेंटली आपके लिए डेवलप कर रहा है. देयर मस्ट बी सम आइडियाज़ का टीम भी, इम्प्लीमेंटेशन का भी, बट की रोल जो होता है इन डिज़ाइनिंग अ सर्विस ऑन अ क्लाउड, वो हर कंपनी में क्लाउड आर्किटेक्ट के पास होता है. द क्लाउड आर्किटेक्ट इज़ गोइंग टू डिसाइड किस एम्प्लॉय को कितना एक्सेस देना है, विच ब्रिंग्स अस टू द सेकेंड पॉइंट ऑल्सो, एक्सेस challenges. Whenever we are integrating SaaS tools, access control becomes a challenge too. The access control and monitoring settings that are applicable in a traditional software are not successfully carried forward to SaaS applications. Just go back and imagine a company with 5 buildings. Every building, every floor has a separate team and is working on a separate project. How difficult would it be to recreate that privilege setting in a public cloud infrastructure? कितनी कीज़ मैनेज करनी होंगी, किसके पास क्या प्रिविलेज रहेगा, हाउ टू सिक्योर ऑल ऑफ दैट. सो दीज आर वेरी बिग चैलेंजेस. इवन वन पर्सन जो मेलिशियसली एक्ट करे एंड जिसको शायद मे बी गलत एक्सेस अलॉट हो गया है, दैट पर्सन कैन ruin the fortune of the company by leaking maybe very important information. So there is always a risk involved, right? Risk not in the terms of human lives, I would say, but in the terms of leaking of information. And in this age where we are saying that data is the new oil, so data is very important. And that is why access control policies, identity management, authentication management, these things become a very big challenge while migrating to cloud, while integrating SaaS in particular. Because अगर आपके पास infrastructure का भी control है, platform का भी control है, still you have a lot of control. But SaaS में, as we've seen, जो हमारा stack था, if you remember, over here, you have very limited control. Very limited control. You don't own the hardware, you don't own the operating system, you don't own the platform, you just own the application, right? So this control, managing of this control, access control, it is very difficult and very challenging to deal with. Coming on to the next challenge, which is the cost of integration. Another major factor for SaaS integration is cost. It is very expensive to integrate SaaS, and your IT team needs to be highly skilled too. In order for the integration to be successful, you have to bear the additional cost of highly skilled IT technicians. Now this is taken from a book and they have used the term IT team and IT technicians, but as a cloud architect myself, I would try to replace this term with cloud architect and not IT technicians. You don't have to manage the wiring of infrastructure. ये सब काम नहीं करना आपको. आपको ये नहीं है कि अरे मेरी विंडोज़ नहीं चल रही है या मेरा ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम में ये सॉफ्टवेयर का वर्जन आउटडेट हो गया है और आप कंपनी में से इट हैपन्स इफ़ यू गो टू वर्क in a company, in a development firm, and you're coding and you're doing everything on the company's laptop, and suddenly the laptop has a lot of issues. अब वहाँ के IT technician के पास जाओगे and your IT technician is going to resolve that problem कि ये error आ रहा होगा, because that person knows कि कौन सी firewall लगी हैं, किसके IP पे क्या चल रहा है. That person has control over the infrastructure. But when we talk about migrating and moving towards SaaS delivery model, the cost of integration, why is it high? Because you will be needing experts in SaaS delivery model now. You will be needing people who are good at running the cloud infrastructure. जो IT technician ने पहले सीखा maybe 10 साल के career में, अब उसको refresh करना होगा and the person has to start again. So now you have two possibilities. One is to train your existing people to become experts at cloud. That is one, but there is a lot of risk involved. Second is to hire people who are good at this, who are already cloud architects, who are cloud developers, who know how to operate that platform, and that is why the certifications exist. जब हम जाते हैं जॉब में अप्लाई करने के लिए वी से कि हमारे पास ये सर्टिफिकेशन है, बिकॉज द क्वेश्चंस आर कॉम्प्लिकेटेड एंड दे फोर्स यू टू मेक अ चॉइस कि अगर आपके पास ऐसा सिनेरियो है देन हाउ आर यू गोइंग टू प्रोसीड. So those case studies are there which empower a person to decide कि मेरी क्या choice होगी, and if your choice is right you get the certificate and thus you get the credibility that you are a certified professional in so and so platform. That makes it easier for the companies to hire you, and once you are hired you are going to work to develop the platform for them, how to integrate, right? And as the size of the company grows big, the number of employees will also grow big, and that means you will be needing more cloud architects. So the cost of integration becomes high. आपका normally एक workflow चल रहा है, उसके comparison में आप उसको integrate कर रहे हो उधर जाके, it is going to cost you. On the other hand, you know, take यहीं आता है जो traditional companies है. Traditional का मतलब होता है पुरानी, established, नॉर्मली कन्वेंशनल जो चीज़ें हैं जैसी चलती आ रही हैं. सो दैट इज़ वेयर वी ट्रेडिशन वर्ड से आ रहा है. सो व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट ट्रेडिशनल कंपनीज वी आर सेइंग कि पिछले 10 साल 20 साल 30 साल से जो काम होता आ रहा है वो कंपनीज दे आर टेकिंग अ वेरी डिफरेंट अप्रोच एंड माइग्रेटिंग टू क्लाउड. सो इट इज़ अ बिग थिंग. एंड if the size of the company is big you will be needing many people to handle that. आपको स्पेशली आर्किटेक्ट्स चाहिए ताकि आपका एक वर्क फ्लो पूरा का पूरा चेंज हो गया है तो उस चीज़ को रीएस्टैब्लिश करने में इट इज़ गोइंग टू कॉस्ट यू नॉट जस्ट इन टर्म्स ऑफ मनी, इट इज़ गोइंग टू कॉस्ट अ कंपनी इन द टर्म्स ऑफ टाइम एज वेल, एंड देयर विल बी सम रिस्क इन्वॉल्व. नो डाउट बेनिफिट्स हैं क्लाउड में इंटीग्रेट होने के, बट दीज आर द कोर चैलेंजेस विच वी मस्ट नो अबाउट. नेक्स्ट इज टाइम कंस्ट्रेंट्स. Most companies opting for SaaS are generally in a hurry to get the application up and running. However, time is another major hurdle that companies wanting to switch over to SaaS have to face. See, what are the luring points जिन्हें देख के हमें ऐसे लगता है कि हाँ हमें SaaS में migrate कर देना चाहिए. If you are the owner of a company, आप क्यों migrate करोगे? Just think about it. You are the owner of a very big company and you are tempted to migrate some part of your business to cloud. Just think about it. What approach would you take for migration? Normally what happens is when we talk about SaaS in particular, हम benefit ये दिखाते हैं कि देखो infrastructure कितनी easily scale हो जाएगा. See, you can service as many users as you want. See, you have access to a large array of services जिसको आप use कर सकते हो. Same service if you are designing in your own company, it is going to take you 3 years to design a software. पर यहाँ पे cloud service provider आपको सब कुछ दे रहा है. So you see a lot of potential opportunities. But it is not like कि आप migrate करोगे and within 6 hours आपकी application up and running and it is running very smooth. There will be issues, there will be constraints and it is going to take some time. It is not like कि मैंने आज decision लिया कि हाँ सब कुछ SaaS पे डाल दो and it happened tomorrow. No. You will have to design everything from scratch. You will have to work on it. You will have to plan your strategies. You will have to plan your cost management. You will have to plan your data management, your software stack, what you're going to use, how you're going to redirect the traffic, how you're going to manage your sales, how you're going to manage your CRM. There will be a lot of things involved and thus there will be constraints on the time as well. So you will might be suffering for the cost of integration along with the cost of time. And the last point is faulty integration, which is again arising from this timing constraint point. Supposedly you migrated the service to the cloud, but what if it still has problems? As reading from the PPT, if the integration is not up to the mark, many problems can arise. You may realize your sales and accounting data is not in sync with your CRM. your users are uploading files and making changes in different systems, invoices are sent to wrong customers, your data is leaked, automatic information gathering is not so automatic, so on and so forth. These are like, if you look at them from my perspective, these are 5-6 points in itself. You know, if you want to write about the disadvantages of migrating, because there is a lot which can go wrong. You know, on one side we can take it as a very positive thing also कि हाँ keys ही तो manage करनी है, session ही तो manage करने हैं, software की configuration and the code, you know, same file is applied through all the stack, बहुत छोटी छोटी चीज़ें ही तो manage करनी है. But on the other hand, you know, when little things are involved, बहुत छोटे छोटे crashes बहुत अच्छे result दे देते हैं. For instance, if you have given some wrong privilege to a person, he might destroy your company. Faulty integration, maybe in terms of application modules, maybe in terms of security, in the terms of owner, people forgetting their passwords, people getting to reset their accounts, hiring new people, giving them access to resources, deciding what will be the hierarchy of privilege granting. ऐसा नहीं है ना, एक कंपनी में 150 लोग हैं तो हमने 150 को सेम प्रिविलेज दे दिया कि जिसका जो मन करता है वो करो. You have to manage the access, or maybe, you know, 50 people are the level 1 employees, 50 people are level 2 employees, 25 people are level 3 employees, and 25 people are level 4 employees, और उनके आगे एक head है. So you have 5 levels to manage, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the more exposure is there, the more chances there are to lead to risks at any possible integration of cloud. जितना आप surface area दोगे with respect to your application, users, the, you know, entire exchange model, उतना ही scope बढ़ जाता है for faults to occur. And in cloud, you know, if you're not constantly testing your services, then you might not even realize for, you know, 1 day, 2 day, or maybe for 10 days कि कोई error हुआ है. So a lot of takes are involved, and that is where I will, you know, sum up this topic of challenges which are faced by a normal traditional software development company to integrate SaaS into its service delivery model, right? So you understand the context. We talked about the hybrid IT infrastructure and the challenges associated with it. We talked about access challenges, identity management, authentication challenges, the cost of integration, the timing constraints, and the faulty integration which can happen. But apart from this, if you look at the plus side, there are a lot of advantages to migrating to cloud as well, and that is why the huge success to cloud as well as to big data technologies. But there are some, you know, negative sides which a traditional company owner must know about. And as a person, when you will be asked to make software choices, maybe for your own company, for your own application, or maybe as an employee of a company, you will need to know all about these things before taking or making any kind of decision, right? So that is all about SaaS in this unit 3. Just a moment. I think I will just sum this up by giving you some characteristics of SaaS, and then we can close this SaaS. After that, we will go to PaaS, and then we will go to infrastructure as a service, and this unit will be closed, unit 3. So when we talk about SaaS, the key characteristics are, it is available on the internet, right? Your service is available on the internet, and it can be accessed by anyone with a browser and an internet connection, of course. So the first key thing to remember is, whenever we are talking about SaaS, the software must be publicly available over the internet, and it must be accessible via a browser and an internet connection. The second is, your software has to be some sort of, you know, subscription based, or you are paying for it. For example, Gmail gives us free access for 15 GB. Uske baad it might charge us. So in the beginning, it depends on the cloud service provider, but after that, there will be some subscription fee or some price model which the companies follow, and you will agree on that. Then there is this factor of managing and maintaining your service, your entire, you know, interface, that will be handled by your cloud service provider. You don't have to do it. There is no distribution cost, no maintenance cost, and very, very low end user cost from the perspective of an end user. Whenever we're talking about SaaS, we are talking about automatic upgrades, patching, configuration management, and a very good timed rollout for new updates. Then we have a very we have this model based on tenants. Tenants होते हैं जो अगर आपके घर में ऊपर वाले फ्लोर पे कोई रहने आया है या फिर आप रहने गए हो, सो यू आर द टेनेंट because that space is not owned by you, you have rented it. So whenever we are talking about SaaS, we are saying कि हम multi tenant model follow कर रहे हैं, not single tenant. For example, you have your computers, your laptops, your phones, only you are using that device, so that is a single tenant model. You are the single tenant for that particular resource. But when we talk about SaaS, we talk about multi-tenant model because the service is there, the background infrastructure is there, but that same service is used by multiple users all across the globe. So the model being followed while talking about SaaS is multi-tenant model. It is not a single tenant model, right? So that is all from my side for SaaS. If you have any questions, we can take them up in the discussion class, in your respective discussion classes. Yeah, that is all for this. Thank you. In the next lecture, we will talk about PaaS.